Hello, everybody. Welcome into Senior Living Live. My name is Melissa. Thank you so much, as always, for joining us about this webinar, all about how to sell your home for top dollar and set yourself up nicely for an easy move into senior living. Chris Holt is our guest presenter today. He will share his tips with all of you, and then he will be available to answer all of your questions, which is our favorite part about these webinars. Now, of course, to be a part of the conversation, all you have to do is scroll down to the bottom of your screen where it says Q&A. You can type your questions out there, and I will be happy to read all of those questions to Chris and get all of them answered at the end of his presentation. Chris, it is wonderful to see you today for this hour that we have together. The webinar is all yours.
Thank you, and welcome everyone. I see there's about 16, 17 people on. Thank you so much for coming. I know your time's important. So I'm going to get right into this, but this is, what you need to know about the current market. I'm Chris Holt. I'm an owner and a realtor for Iron Valley Real Estate, Exton brokerage in Exton. And so question, when you guys have questions, either put them in the chat or, have pen and paper and we will get to all of them for sure. It's a lot of information. I don't want to go too quickly, but I want to go quick so I get to it all. So I'll just get right into it. So if you sell anything in this world, you are governed by one universal law, and that is supply and demand. So the reason I state that is that's what dictates every market, and that's what dictates the real estate market. And I know these are basic things, but I just want to go over some basic things so we can see how we got to where we got. In the last 4 to 6 years, and currently in the real estate market, there has been low supply of houses for sale and a large demand of buyers seeking homes. And but the market is a moving target. So we're trying to predict, we're trying to forecast, but a lot of when you read articles in the paper, they're not really written by realtors that are in the mix and really transacting. They're written by people that are just maybe getting consultants from some realtors. So it's a moving target, and every market's different. So we're kind of talking about Chester County here. Current interest rates are slowing down buyers. Current interest rates are gone up. Actually, yesterday they went up. And but there's still not enough homes for sale for buyers. So let's take a look at some of the current data here. So this, if you can see my cursor here, this is from Bright MLS, which is where the realtors use to sell all the homes. And we're going to look at this quadrant up in the right hand, top in the market activity. You see this brown line here, a tan line, and then an orange line. And under that it says homes for sale. Well, the tan line or the brown line is homes for sale in 2020, and then this tan line is homes for sale in 2021. And the orange one is for 2022. So in 2020, there was 1,850 homes for sale in Chester County, PA. That dropped in Q2. That dropped to 35% to 1,193 in Q2 of 2021. And then the following year, this year, it dropped another 48%. So we are almost 85% down in homes for sale from just 3 years ago. And and then down here, this historic median sales price for Chester County, PA, this line right here is 2019. So in the middle of 2019, there was a house for sale that home says it's worth $375. And then now 3 years later, it's up to $475. So on the last slide, we're basically looking at two major data points. There are almost 85% less homes for sale compared to 3 years ago. And a home in 2019 that was priced at $325 is now worth $475. Major inflation. And that's a $150,000 increase. So what has been the, I'm sorry. So, why is the market so crazy? Very low inventory, low interest rates, which is low inventory is supply, low supply, high demand because of interest rates. Millennials make up about 50% of the buying market right now. So millennials have gotten into real estate. So that's creating more of a demand. And it's all coupled with crazy inflation. And, so what comes next, right? Interest rates. 30-year fixed interest rates are at 7% right now. And that is if you're, loan for 300,000, you're putting 20% down and you have a credit score of 720, let's say 700 to 720. So interest rates are certainly driving buyers away a little bit. And so this is also from Bright MLS, this data. Demand has decreased during the past 2 months for a cumulative decline of nearly 16%. That means 16% less people are buying homes. The decrease reflects several headwinds for buyers, including higher mortgage rates, which we're seeing they're going up, and elevated inflation. So mortgage rates and pricing are both going up. So buyers are getting squeezed out of this market. And it's reduced the ability for some would-be home buyers. And so all that data, really despite what you read in the papers, it still is a seller's market. There's still a high demand and not enough homes for sale. And, it is moving pretty fast. But again, I like to say it is a moving target. So the market does seem to be slowing down a little bit, and we can see a little bit of a slowdown. So what does that really mean? And I just wanted to give some real actual stories from some of my buyers. So just last month, I had a buyer that lost out on a house in a bidding war. It was priced at 800,000. It went for 125,000 over the asking price, cash deal, no inspections, and it even had a septic system. I would never let a buyer waive inspections on a septic. And then it went for 3 days on the market. So that was just last month. So last month has still been pretty crazy. And we're also seeing price decreases. And some of the reasons for the price decreases is that sellers are getting greedy because they're like, wow, the market's crazy. I can get the most money for your home. You just need to be strategic about it. But sellers aren't understanding the correct pricing strategy, which is vital to sell your home in this market. And, there's a lot of agents out there. Some agents are weak and they can't really have that conversation to make sellers understand what's really important, how to get the most money and how to maximize. And, or just sellers aren't listening to agents. And so whether you're buying or selling in this market, you need to be aggressive. For buyers, they need to bid aggressively. They need to be willing to overpay a little bit. When you think about overpaying, the people that bought a home in 2019 and they bought for 30 grand over price, right? And we just said it increased $150,000 in 3 years. So if that makes sense to you, you're saying, okay, they bought it. They felt like they were overpaying by 30 grand, but they made that 30 grand back in appreciation within probably 6 months. And that's how crazy it's been. But also when you're selling, you need to price aggressively. And that means you need to be willing to underprice your house. And so we'll get into that. But I just wanted to do a quick, are there any questions at this point? Because that was a lot of data. And, that was sort of how do we get here? And then how do we, proceed on selling? I have a lot of good tactics for that. All right, cool. We'll move on. Let's do, yes. All right. So when selling your home, what's the most important thing to you? Oh, I'll tell you, it is always getting the most money for your home. That is really the most important thing. But it's really two things. Getting the most money for your home with the least amount of hassle, and that's where we come in. So the first thing you want to do is call us. But really what you need to know is understanding the current market conditions, which we kind of went over, using the correct pricing strategy, what to fix and what not to fix, because where does that stop? Where does that end? Staging tricks, professional photos and videos for marketing, and a good marketing strategy, and understanding what buyers want. And so we'll get into these. Understanding the market, we talked about that. That was there are pockets of, it's a hyper sellers market for the last 5 years, supply and demand, millennials getting in, home values are rising, some pockets of it slowing down, but it usually does ramp up a little bit for the fourth quarter. So how do I win big in a seller's market when I'm selling my home? Using the correct pricing strategy is everything. So let's talk about pricing, because it's the biggest elephant in the room whenever we go into a meeting. What are we going to get for our house? So who sets the market value of your home? Is it you, the seller? Or is it me, the realtor, by pulling comps? Or is it the appraiser? Well, guess what? The market is the person. The market sets your price. The person that shows up to buy it, that's the person, and that's how much your house is worth. And it's not an exact science, but we use data to try and get you there. So how do we set the asking price? Okay. In this type of market, you pull comparable properties and you look at what is sold in the area, because that's what an appraiser is going to do. And you say, okay, your house is comparable to this. This is what they got for that home. We should underprice it by about 2 to 3%. Let's just say, so if you want 500,000, you want to price it at 485. And the thing that people don't understand, or sellers don't really grasp a lot of times, is that asking price is your best marketing tool. It truly is. What you're trying to do is manipulate the market. You're trying to create a heightened demand and manipulate the market to get, the more people that are interested in your house and the more people that go through and view your house, the more money you will get. The more people in a bidding war, the more the price will escalate. It becomes an auction mentality. So if you overprice your house and people are looking at it on Zillow and they're like, it just doesn't look like a good deal, they don't go see it. And so if they don't go see it, you don't get this fever pitch of a bidding war. So very simply put, if you walk into a store and you saw one t-shirt here on a rack for $15 and you saw the same t-shirts on a rack over here for $5, you would go, oh my gosh, I would pay $5, right? But in this, it's not that simple in real estate, because we price it at $5, but we're really hoping to get 15 or 20. And so that's how that kind of works. It becomes an auction mentality. Your days on the market, the reason you want to sell quickly is because the amount of days on the market will actually be a foe. It will hurt you. So basically, if you see a house about 4 years ago, if a house lingered on the market for 30 days, people were like, oh, it's been on the market a while, I wonder what's wrong with it. Nowadays, if a house has been on more than 10 days, people are saying, what's wrong with it? Doesn't mean anything's wrong with it per se. It could just be overpriced, and that's that. But overpricing and why it will bring you less money. I have an example of a house I sold here in Phoenixville, and my sellers, they wanted 535. That was their walkaway number. They would like more, but they're like, we understand it's probably worth 535. So I told them you have to price it at 500,000. And they thought I was a lunatic. And they said, no, that just, what if we don't get 500,000? I'm like, well, if you don't get it, then it wasn't out there to be had. But we looked at all the data and I said, you should easily get 535 for it, but pricing it at 500 is going to impart a sense of urgency. So what happened with that home sale? We ended up getting them $575,000, no inspections, and that was in 5 days on the market, I believe. And so why that happened is because we manipulated the market. We underpriced. We had about 35 showings in 4 days. I did 2 open houses, and we probably had another 30, 40 people through the open houses. So we crammed as many people into that time slot of the 4 or 5 days as we could to heighten the demand. And what that did is that created an auction, and people weren't negotiating with you, the seller. They're negotiating against the other guy holding up his paddle in the auction room saying, I'll pay 500. Well, I'll pay 525. I'll pay 575. And we ended up with 575. So a $75,000 swing on that. My sellers were very happy, but it was a risk and it felt like a gamble in the beginning, but they were really happy at the end. Okay. So number 3, what to fix and what not to fix. So where do you start and where do you stop? Because this can sort of get away with you. Some rules of thumb, some easy things. Usually get your money back for paint and flooring. New carpet, if it's a small area, is always a good idea. And having your house professionally cleaned. Clean is really the thing. When people walk in to your home, they literally have 30 minutes in your home before they're going to make a decision on on whether to buy it or not, and whether to really go for it or not. If you're going to if you're going big, adding a bedroom or a bathroom will give you the most money back, because that will bolster your appraisal price. And then adding a patio or outside space. Patios really have become, the new, like everyone said, well, kitchens sell the home. Well, ever since COVID came, outside space has been a premium for buyers, and really, it's really important to people. So adding a patio can get you money too. And redoing the kitchen, that's the biggest one. So that depends. It really depends on, if your kitchen is outdated but clean, I would say do not redo the kitchen, because you might not pick the same fixes that the buyer would pick. And kitchens today are super expensive. Everything's super expensive today. But that would have to take like an in-person consult for that. Because it is one of those things. Every house is so different. So I'd have to come look at it and say like, yes, no. I think that kitchens are very they're one of those things. I have a seller right now. He was like, I'm gonna redo the cabinets. I'm like, don't. You might pick the wrong stuff, and then you're gonna spend 15 grand on the wrong stuff, and you're not gonna get that money back. So every home's so different. So it would take an in-person consultation. And staging tricks, cleaning and decluttering. So this is the psychology of the first impression. So basically, neat and clean always imparts a good impression. That's why the old school thing of baking cookies, you walk in, you're enticing the senses there. And that's, really the first impression's all that the buyer gets. They're literally in your home for a half hour, maybe 45 minutes, and then they decide whether to really put in an aggressive offer. Having your home professionally cleaned, I think, is a super smart idea. It just really does impart that sense of clean. And any like pet odor or cigarette odor or cigar smoke or anything like that, any odor is just going to, plain and simple, equal less money for you at the end of the day. And a home that's clean and cared for, and if outdated, buyers will overlook it because it's a good palette. They can start fresh. They can move in and just start fixing stuff. But like an old and unmaintained or dirty house, that just equals less money for you. And so it's one of those things. Knowing what buyers want is very, very important. But so staging tricks and cleaning and decluttering, in a perfect world, we'd love, and to get the most money, if you can rent a storage space or one of the pods where they drop off at your house, and take out about 2/3 of your stuff, because that will open up your home and make it feel larger. When people are walking through a home and any space feels cramped, you got to think about 3 people, a realtor and a couple. So a realtor and a couple, if they're walking through your home and there's a chair that makes this corner feel really tight, I would normally advise, hey, put that chair in storage and, box up all your knickknacks. Look at it like this: you're moving out anyway. So, you can get a jump start on the boxing and the moving of things. Your kitchen, when we do photos, should have hardly anything on the counter. The more counter space is very important to buyers. And leaving anchor pieces in the room, like leaving a couch, leaving a bed in the bedroom, you want to leave those anchor pieces in the room, because if a room is empty, all that does is really, it takes the buyer's eyes to any imperfections in the walls or the floors or something like that. And so if the room is sort of set up the way, with the anchor pieces, you really do, just buyers come in and go, oh, I see what they did here. And, you get more money. And, if all this is too much work, like if you're just, I can't do that. I can't take 2/3 out of my house, and I can't do that. We just want to concentrate on, maybe boxing up some of the knickknacks and just making it neat and clean for people to come through your house. And that is literally getting the most money with the least amount of hassle. And so the other thing, professional photos, videos, and marketing strategy. I can't stress enough, photos are your first impression. So they are super important. And so we will pay for all of your marketing if you list your home with us. And that's professional photos, a professional video. We do all your social media marketing, and we host open houses. And I just wanted to give you a quick look at the video I did for the one that we sold for 500. We priced it at 500 and we ended up getting 575 for it. So when you're looking at this video, look at all the countertops. There's nothing on them. You know, look at how neat and clean the rooms are. This was a family with 3 kids and active. They literally boxed up most of their stuff and put it in the garage. The garage, being a storage space, that's okay to be filled with storage. They're moving, you know, but the interior, it imparted such a sense of neat and clean and organization that's how we got $75,000 extra for it. So we're going to get into this video, and here you go.
Hello friends, Chris Holt here, coming to you from 39 Richard Lee Lane in Phoenixville, PA. And this wonderful Center Hall Colonial has 4 bedrooms, 2.5 bathrooms, tons of updates, and your very own in-ground swimming pool. And a beautiful modern kitchen with granite countertops, stainless steel appliances, farmhouse sink, and hardwood floors. And a beautifully appointed formal dining room. We'll be doing 2 open houses, one on Saturday from 11 to 2, one on Sunday from 11 to 2. So come on out this weekend and I'll see you there. And I am loving all the mature trees on this property.
Okay. Ooh. How do we get back to that?
I am loving all the mature trees on this property.
Sorry to get back and out and into this again. YouTube took over my computer. You know, professional photos and videos and marketing strategy is so important in this whole gig. Really, to sell your home is a marketing gig. And so I will say that you know, one of the things, as you noticed in that video, I mean, again, that's a household with you know, 3 kids. So they went to great lengths to clear everything out, make it look really great for the 3-4 days that we had to show. And with that heroic effort that they did, it really paid off for them. So we do also list your home on the MLS and the multiple listing service that syndicates to over 300 websites, Zillow, Realtor.com, etc. The MLS is also filled with serious pre-qualified buyers that are actively looking and ready to purchase. People on Zillow that are looking to buy, they're not as qualified. You know, if someone's looking on the MLS, a consumer, that means they're already working with a realtor, probably means they're already pre-qualified with a lender. So they're the people that you really want to come through your home and for your home. I also say for sale by owner versus using a realtor. If you went skydiving, would you want to pack your own parachute? or would you want to have the person that packs parachutes for a living do it? I mean, that's a little dramatic, but your home sale is a huge deal. I would say, for sale by owners, the statistics are they make 17% less on their home sale off the MLS. It's because they're just not getting the exposure we talked about. And with a realtor only charging 6%, we more than pay for ourselves. Also, the technologies to set up the showings, the marketing, handling everything A to Z. Not only that, listing your home is only the first part. It's once we get under contract and the transaction and all the dealings of going back and forth with the buyer that's when our work really begins. And again, we're trying to achieve getting you the most money with the least amount of hassle. That's the point. And so also knowing what buyers want, when you walk through your own home, it's hard to put your buyer's hat on. And so, you want to try and look at it through their lens. You want a good realtor that works with both buyers and sellers. I work with both. And so if you there's realtors that say, well, I'm a listing expert, I'm a listing specialist. Well, if you're not out in homes with buyers, how do you know what buyers are looking for? If you only list homes. So you need a good realtor that does both. But for most people, it's just hard to scrutinize your own home, but you really want to look through it with that lens. You want a buyer that will pay the most. Who is that? Well, it's not an investor. It's not the guy that comes knocking on your door and says, hey, we buy houses. They need to make a profit after flipping your house. So it's not them. It's the end user. It's the family. So that's who you want to buy your home because you're going to get the most money for it. And that's why putting it out on the MLS and marketing it to a population of people that are actually actively looking, that's going to be your most money. It's not your neighbor who wants to buy it without a realtor and save you money. How would you even know if they save you money or not if you didn't take it to market and let the market dictate what it's worth, especially in this crazy market? You would be leaving money on the table. I will tell you that. People downsizing. That's a good, that's a great part of the buyer's market because they have money. They're selling a big house and then they're moving into a smaller house. They want, mostly buyers want move-in ready and updated everything, or at the very least well-maintained. If you have an old boiler and an old roof, it's just going to cost you money. It's just going to be, everything has a price. Usable outside patio is very important, like I talked about, and kitchen is as well. And knowing what buyers want and delivering that in a showing like we did on that one in Phoenixville there, that's what will yield you the most money. And so why is that important? Simply put, getting the most money for your home is paramount for seniors that are downsizing or moving into senior living. For the most part, for most people, your home is the biggest asset. And for seniors that are no longer working or earning an income, the home sale can be one of the most important financial transactions for them at that point in their life. So a lot of information. I want to get to some questions.
Excellent presentation, Chris.
Oh, thank you.
A lot of really good information there. And obviously our viewers were paying attention because we had some questions that came in during that presentation. So let's start with the first one. And this one comes from Jim. In my area, we have a number of companies that will give you an all cash offer. And you just kind of touched on this, Chris. With no showings and close within 30 days, my plan is to contact 3 or 4 of these companies and let them bid against each other to get the top dollar for my house. Do you see a downside to doing this?
I mean, the only thing is, so how I can describe that is if you were selling a diamond, and you were like, hey, there's a party with 50 people at it. I'm going to go try and sell my diamond at the party with 50 people. So you bring it to a party with 50 people. That's a very niche place. Why would you not bring that diamond to a marketplace where there's thousands of people looking for diamonds? I just, you can do that. My thing would be to take it to the market and let the market dictate what it's worth, because the market is so hot these days. If you only have 4 of these companies bidding on it, what if you had 25 people bidding on it? And you just won't know that unless you take it to the market. And also those companies that like it for cash today, if you took it to the market and you didn't get the number you wanted, you could still go back to them and sell it to them as well, because they're still going to want it, because that's what they do. So I think the only downside is you would be leaving money on the table because you're just getting less people to see your house that might want your house.
Okay. And I would think that the reason perhaps someone like Jim or even myself, when you think about selling a house, I mean, obviously you want top dollar, but at the same time, it can be a little bit of a hassle. You're sort of putting your life on hold to have people come through your home and touch your things and, see, feel,
Sure.
touch, use all the five senses, which is what's going to help sell the home and get you top dollar. So maybe what would you suggest to somebody like that?
Yeah, and so it does come down, the first thing when I consult with a client, I just come in and I don't talk at all. I just listen to what's important to them and I write down what's important to them. So if the least amount of hassle is the important thing, yeah, then this is the thing. I've actually, talked myself out of a listing because I'm a fiduciary. If me taking it on is not the best thing for that person and they're going to sell it to their neighbor, well, then maybe they just do it without me and do save money on that way. People are so concerned about, paying the realtor, but what they're not realizing is the realtor does, again, they get them the most money because of the marketing expertise and everything like that. What we've done in the past, I had a senior, I work with a lot of seniors. And, these people, it would have been, like you said, a hassle to leave for every showing and do that. And so what we did is we literally just said, look, we're going to have you guys go. We're going to put it on the market on a Tuesday. We're not going to allow any showings till these 2 open houses. We're going to do like a 6-hour open house time on 2 days. So there's only going to be 2 days of showings. And so what these people did is they just went away for the weekend. And then they came back and they literally, in this case, they literally had 12 offers on their house, and they cleaned it up once, they left once, they came back and we sold it. So that's another workaround.
Yeah, that's a great idea. And again, as somebody who recently went through this process, when you have multiple showings, it can be disruptive, and you're just trying to get the house sold. And so I totally love that idea. And I love that example that you gave. So more examples like that, bring them on, because I think people can probably see themselves within those examples. And I certainly thought about that and said, well, that's something I could have done and I would have been happy doing it. So excellent.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and the other thing that we can do as well, with the technology that we set up, basically for showings, it's just an app on your phone or you can do it on the computer, but you can restrict the showing times. So you can say, hey, we're putting it on the market, but we're leaving our house from 1 p.m. till 6 o'clock at night. They're only allowed to show the house from those times. So you don't have to go, oh, there's a showing in an hour, we need to clean up everything. When it's happening. So that's the other thing too. You can put like severe restrictions on the showings. And, a lot of times on the MLS, when we put in the listing, we can write a note to the agent that says, look, these are clients that are aging and it's a big hassle for them to leave for every showing. So here's your window. And what I will tell you is the market is so hot and there's so many buyers out there, they'll make time for your window. So you can kind of dictate it when you're selling right now.
Yeah, great time to be selling. Perfect.
Yeah.
Love that. Jim, I hope that helps. Give you a little bit more information on perhaps either using those companies or going with somebody like Chris. All right, from Charlie, where is Chester County, Pennsylvania? And how do these stats that you showed earlier in your presentation relate to our location in Memphis, Tennessee? And that's a great idea because we have viewers from all over the country.
Yeah, no, and I will say that. So, and just thank you, Charlie, for your question. And thank you, Jim, too, for your question as well. That's a great one. But Charlie, to you, yes. So funny has it, I have a client that's trying to move here from Memphis, and they're, in the $1 million to, $2 million range. And they own a pretty significant property there. And they said the market was insane, just like it is here. Now, it could be slowing down or like it is here a little bit. And the luxury market like that doesn't move as fast. It doesn't move within 5 days, generally speaking. But what I would say, Charlie, is if you are interested in a more in-depth analysis, I would be happy to refer you to a good realtor in Memphis that could kind of give you the same stats locally that I did. The way the MLS is set up, our MLS is basically just covers some of the states around us. It doesn't cover the whole country. So, but you know, a lot of times what I do is I have a great referral network. I can refer to anyone in the country, a good realtor, because what I do is I say, hey, I'm looking for this. And then realtors contact me. I call them back and I vet them and make sure that they think like I do. Like I'm a customer service model. I'm not like you sign on with me and then I hand you off to my team and I'm just the figurehead and I just go kill the business. No, I'm accountable for it the whole way through the transaction, holding my clients' hands when they need it. And I think it's really important for the senior population to have a realtor like that. So if anyone needs a referral anywhere in the country, I can vet out a really good realtor that has the same style and the same, you know, importance on and the same structure as I do. And I think that's very important.
Great. And so at the end of this, before we close and wrap up for the day, we'll get your information one more time, Chris.
Yes,
so that,
perfect.
People would have the ability to contact you and find a realtor who is geared towards helping seniors just like yourself. So,
Yeah, not to belabor the point, but it is so important not to just go out of the phone book and look for realtors. There's a statistic out there that 96% of all licensees in America, there's over 2 million licensed realtors, and 96% of those do less than 6 transactions a year.
oh my goodness.
So that literally means you have 4% of the population that are actually doing this for a living. And
Wow.
so you don't want to just willy-nilly pick a realtor. You really want to vet them. It's just, I hate to say it about my own kind, but it's really too easy to get your license. And it's just, there's a lot of people out there that shouldn't be. And so it's important to really vet your realtor. You know, questions you can ask realtors as well. I like to ask the question, can you list your fiduciary responsibilities? Because if they can't list their fiduciary responsibilities, how can they uphold them? And I can write this into a chat or whatever too. But the other question I would ask is, are you full-time? Are you a full-time agent? Someone that's doing this with a full-time agent is going to be transacting at a level that does make them an expert, which is important. And then the other one, I would say, how many homes do you sell a year? If they only sell 4 to 5 homes a year, if I golf 4 times a year, I'm a terrible golfer. And golf is a very complex game. Real estate transactions are highly complex. There's so many moving parts. So if you're not doing it at least 20 to 35, 40 times a year, if you're not transacting at that level, you're not really an expert, unfortunately.
Okay, that's excellent information and something I hadn't even thought of myself. So I'm assuming my viewers would probably be the same. So that's excellent information. Great.
Sure.
So Jim, Charlie, we hope that answers the questions that you had. If you have follow-ups, feel free to add them to the Q&A box and we'll get to those. Daniel asks, is it cost effective to replace a 20-year-old roof to the tune of about $15,000 on a $500,000 home? That's very specific.
Sure. And thank you, Daniel. It's a great question. So we always get this a lot. I would say, number one, my first question would be, is it like, how bad of a shape is it in? Like, does it, like, a lot of times the asphalt shingles, there's so many different roof types, but the major roof type we see a lot are asphalt shingles, and they're rated for 30 years. So if it has 10 years left and you have the receipt of like, hey, these are 30-year shingles, it was put on, 10 years ago, and you got 10 years left, it's a toss up in that category. I think, if your home is in great condition and the roof is kind of the only thing, I think putting it on will get you'll at least get that $15,000 back. You might even get more for it. But if your home, there might be other things like, oh, well, the boiler's old too. It's really tough to say because it's so specific to a house. But a roof is a huge thing. We do say, generally speaking, like a very general thing, you do get your money back at least to put on a roof. So what happens is when you get to the market value and you get prices, and when you put it on, well, I'm sorry, I'm back up. When you list your home on the MLS or when you list it with a realtor and then you get offers, the offers are going to reflect, hey, we know it needs a new roof, so we're taking 15 grand off or 12 grand or 10 grand off for that. So I think it's very specific to each house. And is there any other question I can answer for Dan? Because I know that's sort of, it's vague, because it is so specialized and so geared towards the house, but
Sure. Yeah, Daniel, if you have a follow-up there that you want to continue that conversation for that question, please add it. But in the meantime, what I can ask is, you had
thank
mentioned
you, Dan.
what should I repair, right? So what should I shell money out on in order to get the house ready to go to sell? So obviously, I would think that might be one of them, maybe not. Where does that fall in sort of that priority list?
Yeah, I mean, I think so. If it does, I think it's a big deal.
Okay.
It's funny, roofs are one of those things, like roofs and siding, if it's bad and it needs to be replaced, or you're getting water damage or something like that, you do absolutely need to replace it if it's damaging part of the house.
Okay.
If you do have some lifespan left in it, like 10 years, because again, if your roof is 20 years old and it's in good condition, because that's what matters too. If there's a tree right over your roof and your roof stays wet and the shingles have a bunch of mold or staining and stuff like that, and it just, my home that I'm in currently, I have a big oak tree in my backyard. My roof is fine for probably another 15 years, but the shingles are all stained. And if
Yeah.
I was showing my house, I would 100% probably try and wash my roof at that point, because I still have 10 to 15 years left on it. But I think if I think that's the sort of metric you want to find out. How much time do you have left on your roof? And a good roofer could give you an estimate on that. And I think if you're within 5 years of lifespan on your roof, you either price it accordingly. You say, hey, we were going to price it at 5, but now we're going to price it at 490 because we know there's going to be a $10,000 roof expense. Or you bite the bullet and you price it at 5, but you do put the $10,000 into it.
Yeah.
Or
And Daniel
15.
did follow up, and his follow-up sounds like it's the latter part of the conversation you just had. 30-year shingles with no known current issues.
Yep. So I would not replace it. And I would just say, I would get out in front of it and put it in the listing. I would literally advertise that, hey, this is a 30-year roof. We had it done 10 years, we had it done, 20 years ago. So you have 10 years left on your roof, or at least have your agent put it to the other agent. And you put it in a seller's property disclosure as well, that the clients get, you disclose everything about your house. So in that case, I would not advise to change it.
He says current homeowner insurance is rated because the roof is over 15.
Oh, interesting. Okay. Yep.
So
Yep.
what with that little tidbit there, what would you suggest?
Yeah, I still wouldn't replace it. And I
Okay.
think again, it kind of, a lot of this all goes back to your pricing strategy. And if you price it right, if you're pricing it under market value just enough, and what that does, again, I can't stress it enough because it's the biggest thing. If you underprice it, what you're doing, like when I sit down with a client, I hear what they want and they want the most money. I say, look, I don't bring the market. Like I can't, the market, what you want for it and what I want for it has no bearing on its market value. What we can do is underprice it, get as many people in here as possible, and then they're going to bid it up and they're going to tell us what it's worth. I mean, because I want the most money because I make more money if you make more money. That's very simple, simple math. And so I think it's very important, and I can't stress enough, to really have an aggressive pricing strategy, because the roof in this case will be overlooked because they just want to win a home. Because what you have to understand is the buyer's mindset. They've been out looking for 8 months. They've probably looked at over 40 homes and they just want to get off the ride. And so they're like, oh, it needs a new roof. Who cares? That's 15 grand. I don't care. And it's 10 years away. We just want this house and we're going to bid for it. So in that case, the roof wouldn't even play a big role if you price it right and you get the bidding war strategy.
Yeah. And you're absolutely right about that. I can't tell you how many people have been a part of that ride. They want to get off the ride and have seen so many homes that they've been outbidded for over and over and over again. After a while, it's exhausting, but two, you just feel defeated. And so when you have any sort of, you find another place that you like and you don't want to lose out, you're, like you said, it just comes to, hey, it needs a new roof. I got that. Not a problem. So, and we're still in that market.
Yeah, and that is exactly what happened to the one in Phoenixville that we priced at 500 to 575. These guys, the couple could not stand to lose another one. So they're just like, Yep. And so their offer was actually at 562. And I asked my sellers, I said, hey, we have an open house. They came through the open house on Saturday. We had another open house on Sunday. And this is really, really important. This is a really important nugget about manipulating the market. We priced it low to get as many eyeballs on it and as many people through it. We achieved that. And then these people came through. Their highest offer was 262, but they knew they were in competition with 5, 6 other offers. And so I asked my sellers, I said, can I call them back and say, hey, if you want to shut down the open house tomorrow, the price is 575, but we got to sign today. And what we did, so then we squeezed them even further. We got them up from 262 to 575, and they went for it. But that was all pure pricing strategy. And this is also why you want an experienced realtor, because it's kind of like surfing. It's reading the wave as it's coming at you. You know, the data comes in and you need to process it and go, I didn't tell them, hey, we're going to price it at 520, 500, and then there's going to be an offer here and we're going to squeeze them for more money. That was an on the fly call, but that's how you manipulate the market. It's such an important tip. And it can only happen with underpricing.
Yeah. Wow. That's another good example. Thank you.
Yeah. It was a huge way. My clients were so happy.
That's a big jump.
Yeah, it is.
From the initial price.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
And the other metric on that real quick, and I do want to get to the other questions. The other metric on that is that they waived the mortgage contingency, but we're still going to get a mortgage because you can do that. And it appraised down at like 525 where I said it would. And so literally had we priced it at 535 where they wanted to price it, we probably would not have had as many people through, and we probably would not have had as many offers. And without all those offers competing, we might not have been able to get an offer without a mortgage contingency. That's how we got the 75. And so if we had gotten an offer at 550, but with a mortgage contingency, it would have appraised at 525, 25,000. And then we had it with, so literally if we had priced it high, we probably would have been lucky to walk with 525.
Wow. Okay.
But you only know that after.
Yeah.
You can, you pull the comparable properties and you say, what is it going to reasonably appraise for? And then you make your determinations from that. That's how we do it. But but it's you can only really analyze it after.
Yeah. No. Well, that one's a good one to look back in the rearview mirror at. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Okay. From Mike, and we've got about 10 minutes left in the webinar, guys. So
thank you, guys. Thank you. Yep.
Chris, let's go ahead and slide those in. He said, was this recorded before or after the interest rate spiked? And then if live, what does he think about the market now?
So yeah, we're recording live right now, and the interest rates, I pulled those literally at midnight last night.
Yeah, and then when did the change? It was at some point yesterday, right? So
2 o'clock,
yesterday morning.
2 o'clock in the 2 o'clock in the afternoon. The Fed did raise it, and they're about 7%, and that is dictated if you have a higher. If you have a great credit score and you're putting more money down, you might be able to get a different rate. You can also buy down rates. There's a lot of tricky stuff you can do with that, but generally speaking, they're at 7 right now.
Okay, wow. It's been a big jump over the last I'd say year.
And yeah, it's a huge jump. Yeah, I mean from 2 years ago, it was like down in the 2s.
Yeah.
Historically speaking, though, 7 is still not terrible, and for those of you probably, bought back in the day, they were up, 13, 14, 17 even. And so historically speaking, they're still kind of low, but it really feels like a punch in the gut because they were in the 2s. And so it's for the senior generation, they lived through it and they understand it. For the millennials, this is very hard for them to grasp, because they did not live through it. So they're like, what do you mean it's not 2? What do you mean it's 7? It's like, well, this is how it goes. But to Mike's secondary question, what do I think about the market now? I do think that it is slowing. And what we're going to see is we're going to see less transactions overall. And the unfortunate part of that is that, it's more, these rates going up are squeezing the little guy even more. The people that can afford it can still afford it. But it's like people that were looking and their highest budget was at 3. Now that's dropping to like 275, just because the monthly payment has gone up so much in the last year, and it's unfortunate because it's kind of squeezing the little guy again.
Right. Okay, we've got about 7, 8 minutes left. I do
Sure.
want to ask, because we are coming up to that time of year, right? We've got out of that sweet spot, which is the summertime, and kids are out of school, and moving is a little bit easier, and everybody's back in school, sort of back in that, fall grind before the holidays.
Mhm.
Can we talk about timing? So, what's the best timing? What's the worst timing if someone wants to put a home on the market?
Yep. So I always suggest, September's a funky month, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Right in the beginning, because everyone is transitioning back. Um, Families are usually generally out of the mix because they've already got their kids in school and they're going to stay another year in that school district if they haven't found something. So generally speaking, I always say that the first week in September, no, but second week and third week in September, yes, all the way up to Thanksgiving. And you don't really want your home on the market past mid-November because it just shuts off come December pretty much. You know what I mean? Um, Also, savvy realtors know that if your house is on the market in December, you need to sell your house, and it's okay. And people are still buying and transacting in that time. But it's people understand that you do need to sell it. And so there's a little bit more like desperation, if you will, to get it done. So I would say right now until about the until about I would literally say Thanksgiving. And then after Thanksgiving, we suggest people relist, take it off the market if they haven't sold by that time. If they want to stay on, they want to stay on, but we don't want people to burn days on market because that number hurts you in the end. So a lot of times if we're on the market and we haven't sold it, which is rare, because everything's selling. But if you're on the market and you haven't, like in years past, if you haven't sold by Thanksgiving, pull it from the market, put it on either after January. Usually January 15th, because that's when after the holidays people do start looking again after New Year's and in January.
Perfect. That's
And then
sort of the time frame that that's a really good time frame. That is, there's
yep,
no gray area there. Really nice.
no, and
Thanksgiving,
then
January 15th.
one more point too about the spring. Everyone, it's the spring, putting your home on the market in the spring is a little bit of a myth. You actually want to get out ahead of the spring because people still think that that's the best time to list. Well, the only thing you're doing if you're waiting till the spring is you're waiting for more inventory, more competition to be on the market. So you really want to get out ahead in the spring. I think March is like an awesome time. You know what I mean? I've sold houses
Great.
like that in March because people
Wow.
are waiting for April and May, and there's still active buyers looking, especially in the last 4 to 5 years, which is still going to be the case. So I really, the spring myth is when it's a buyer's market, when your house needs to look good with the mulch and the flowers blooming, and that's it. But we're just not in that type of market. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that another great tip.
Yep,
So many of
sure.
them here today.
Yep, I'm full
So
of them.
yeah. So now we're getting to the end of the road here on our webinar, which has been fantastic, enlightening for sure. Let's get your contact information, Chris, so that if people are in your area, they can contact you, and if not, they can still contact you to get your opinions on somebody in their area.
Yeah. So yeah, right here on the screen, my cell phone is 610-733. Oh, 0829. It's 1829. It's a typo. So sorry about that. Jeez.
Uh-oh.
Let me just fix that immediately right here. Jeez.
Yeah, and then anybody who's watching, when we get this little typo fixed, you can just take maybe your phone and take a quick picture of the screen, and then
Yep,
that
there you
will
go.
help you. Yeah.
There you go. That's all fixed up. I did this a little late last night. So this last
Okay,
slide,
we got the
I was
most
putting I was
up-to-date
putting
information.
yeah. I was pulling some more stats and I wanted them to be like exactly from,
Right.
yesterday. And so, yeah, but yeah, I'm always available on my cell phone to my clients, and, I email. And like I said, a little bit about me, I do run a team or a small team. I believe in, customer service. I don't believe in the churn and burn. Like I'll do, probably 30 to 40 transactions a year. And that's a lot. But, some of these big teams do hundreds because they just, they get you to sign the paperwork and then they send you off to an admin. Sometimes the admin's not even licensed, and it's just, it's not a good way to do business. So when you do business with me, I'm your only phone call. We do have a transaction coordinator once you're under contract to help, that flow, because that process is so detailed and specific. And I'm usually out showing houses and, meeting with sellers. But yeah, so I'm just, I think that's important in a real estate agent, is that, maybe one of the other questions you ask is, if you're looking for a realtor, hey, when you sell my home and we get under contract, are you still involved? Or do you hand it off to someone? Because I think it's important. Even though I have a transaction coordinator handling a lot of the details, I'm still accountable for it all, and I'm still in the loop of it all. And you can still call me and I have the answer for you. And I think it's really important, especially, I've sat down with seniors and they wanted to go over the contract line by line. And I've sat down and gone over paperwork for 4.5 hours. And that's fine, because I think that is what we should do if that's what has to be done. So, I really think it's important to have a realtor that understands that. What you need at this point is a trusted advisor, not a slick salesperson.
Yeah, especially for individuals who may have been in a home for 40 years and they haven't been in this process or through this process for decades. And
Correct.
so, I'm sure a lot has changed since the last time they sold or sold a home. And it's great to have somebody like you in their corner, and then somebody that you can suggest in their area if they are
Yep.
not in your state. So perfect.
Yeah, like I said, I've done the referral for so many places around the country, and people are always very, very happy, because I stay in touch with that realtor. I make sure everything's
Yeah.
going okay and all that too. So yeah.
Fantastic. Well, we appreciate you coming on and sharing all of your knowledge. Some really, really good tips here. And we had a captivated audience. Nobody left. Everybody stayed
That's
for this.
great.
So that was fantastic. You captured everybody's attention, Chris. Thank you
Thank
so
you,
much.
everyone.
Come back anytime.
All right. I appreciate your time, everyone. Thank you for joining in.
All right, thank you. And for all of our viewers watching, if you wanted to maybe share this with friends or family, you can certainly do that starting tomorrow. We're going to send you the link to this webinar in the email that you RSVP'd with. So keep on a lookout out for that. And if you want to find out more of our content all about senior living, the easiest place to do that, www.seniorlivinglive.com. We'll see you next time.